So we'll get started. There's a few more people. I'm assuming they're going to join later on when the time is allowed. Hopefully you could see my screen. If you have questions where I'm talking, you could post them. I disable audio only because if everybody's asking questions, it's really hard for me to kind of get it. If you pose a question on the chat or and then I will get to it as much as I can. If I don't get to it during this webinar, I will also email you, or I will share a video with you to make sure that all your questions are answered. Just one more thing. There's 3 webinars. There's one on the 1st today, and there's one Wednesday, then one Friday. All 3 of them are the same. We just really want to give people an opportunity to kind of get on board for the webinar. So if you sign up for one, you don't have to sign up for the second one unless you want to. We will be adding additional webinar, but those are going to be more training and more detailed video. For this one, we are basically just going over what's new with the software and kind of show you around, kind of prepare you for what's coming, basically. So let's just get started with the main screen. So the screen is the same, just some background changes, trying to make it a little prettier. You would sign in the same way, username and password. And one of the questions I get asked a lot is your username and password will not change. The embedded code you use on your website will stay the same. There will be a new embedded code, so over time you could change it to the new code, but when we migrate, your new schedule will show up, everything will work as is, but we're hoping over time you change the new code to the new code, but you don't have to worry about it right away. So let's just go ahead and sign in and then show you. So the panels, the 3 panels are pretty similar. There's just some UI changes, some kind of color changes for the most part, but we wanted to make sure people are very familiar with it and it's easy to use. There are some minor changes. So for example, you know, the moving around of the stuff is a lot easier to do. You don't have to kind of find a very specific spot to do it. And I will go over this in detail. So for now, what I want to do is kind of go over some of the brand new features, right? There's tons of little tweaks and bug fixes and upgrades and stuff like that. But for now, I'm just gonna go over the big stuff, right? So let's just go. The biggest thing, right, in terms of user interface is that the schedule has been moved, right? Normally you used to click on the little icon on the left-hand side to get to your schedule, but now it's all over to the right. So I find myself looking for it still. So if you go to setting, I'm gonna go through studio setting first. Let me move some of this stuff out of the way. And then basically walk through it. The one addition besides the logo, so the stuff that's the same, I'm not gonna go over, is this fave icon stuff. You could update your logo to kind of make sure it's the fave icon. And the fave icon is just a little icon that's on top of your browser next to your studio name, and that could be your logo. The second biggest thing, and this was something a lot of our users requested, is due to COVID, most of us, all of us, including our own studio, had to update and upgrade disclaimer. And the problem was, once you do that, then how do you get everybody to re-sign? And it was a pain in the butt to kind of send people email and do that. So what we did is that we give you the ability, this button that says update student disclaimer. When you update the disclaimer, every student, once they log in, will be asked to re-sign your disclaimer automatically. And when they come to the studio, there will be an indicator to show you that they didn't acknowledge a new disclaimer. And I'll show you that later. So this is a really kind of quick and easy way to do it and update your disclaimer. Short studio, the short description is basically a short description of your studio, what you're all about. And this is important because in the app, over time, what we're going to do is allow you to make some of your services global. meaning that if you wanted to have a video that you want anybody who has the app to have access to it and be able to kind of log in, pay for it, and you want to make certain services global, this would be the description that gets shown. Next one is after purchase text. It's just something specific you wanted to say after the sale is completed, you know, kind of thank you or whatever it is that's important to you after the sales. After purchase tracking code, again, that's just, you could embed a tracking code there to track your, so if you're using Facebook, pixel code or anything else that you want to use to track sales in terms of click rate, that would be there. So the next thing, I'm going to skip over most of this stuff because this is familiar to you. The one thing I want to mention is the max booking duration. As it is now, people could basically book classes all the way down in the future as long as they have a class pending. If they have a class pending, they could book, you know, we just look at the pending stuff. So for now, you could stop someone. If they have a yearly, they could book for a whole year. But if you wanted to, you could basically limit how far in the future a student could book. If you scroll all the way down, also you could limit how long, you know, they have before they could cancel. So maybe once the student book a class, they, you know, if 2 hours before the class, they can't cancel. So you have the option to kind of limit all of that stuff. So this is basically for the general setting, the things that are different that from your current version. I'm going to look at invoicing. Invoicing is mainly a request by a European client. If you want to, this is also available to everybody, is that it's a way of tracking receipt, right? That when you send a receipt to a student, you could add additional custom field. In Europe, they have to add the VAT, the VA number, the VAT number. They also have to have a separate receipt number besides the order ID that we show in the receipt. So again, this is an opportunity for you if you wanted to add additional information. You have 5 custom fields to add additional information on your receipt if you'd like. Payment this is mainly your Karmasoft payment. So if you have a past due invoice, you could click and pay. But more importantly, once you pay for an invoice, you could click and download your payment for your taxes. So it's a really quick, easy, it's a little more organized in terms of where you update your card, you could see your plans, and you could update and download invoices. Marketing hasn't changed, so I'm not gonna go over that. Let's go over add-ons. So there's tons of different add-ons in the system. Some of them are old that we tweak, and others are brand new. So spot reservation is a feature we had for a long time that we implemented for a very specific studio in Williamsburg. But with COVID, it's more and more people are using it, and it's been interesting. It allows you to really map your room, and a student could pick the spot they want their map. And I will show you how that works in the future. You could actually eliminate certain spot to ensure that you have this 6-foot distance between students, and you could track the location of students. So in the future, if you ever needed to track who a student was next to or in front or behind, you will be able to do that. Promote daily deals, again, is a piece of code that you could add to your website. And what that does, it allows you to promote a specific package, a specific class at a specific time. So this pop-up will show up, and maybe for that instant, there's a 15% discount, 20% discount if you take the 6 a.m. class and buy 5 class cards. So you could do all that just to promote stuff. Document storage, very simple. Prior to this version, if you wanted to add an image, and we're not talking about uploading your staff image or anything like that, but if you wanted to add an image for a workshop, and you wanted to add an image on an email you're sending to your class, you basically had to use, the image had to be stored on your Dropbox, or Google Drive or something like that, and then you had to add a link to get to that image. If you have document storage, you could just store all your image within Karmasoft and then just link them. Okay, so now the three exciting add-ons that I'm actually really excited to talk about is the social media notification, SMS reminders, and video library. Right? Social media notification it's an upgrade to a feature we had prior. Prior to this, you could click on the social media link and it give you a link, you post, but unfortunately you had to do this kind of on a daily basis if you wanted to post your schedule. With social media notification, you could actually connect Karmasoft to your Facebook and Twitter account. We are working on Instagram. Instagram is a little different, but for now you could link it to your Facebook and your Twitter account, and you could determine which class you want to post on your social media, and Karmasoft will do it for you automatically. So it could be a daily post or every other, depending on the class. So like prior to the class happening the day before, we would post it with a link so people could book or make an announcement about it. So this is really cool because it allows you to have daily posting without much work. SMS reminders is, again, this is a feature that we had before, but it was just for password. We are expanding it, and we will continue to expand it a little bit more based on user feedback. So for now, those are the things you could do with SMS reminder, like booking class reminder, workshop reminder, waitlist reminder, when they get removed from the waitlist, instructors reminder. One thing that's not listed here that you could do is also for streaming classes like Zoom meetings, Zoom classes. When you start the class, you could choose to send the student a link to their phone as well as an email, because sometimes people's email bounce or go to a trash can or whatever. You could choose to do that with the SMS reminder. And the last one I'm going to mention in terms of the brand new stuff is basically the video library. Video library is simple. You upload your video, you create classes for the packages for those videos. People could book them, watch them, just like they would do a regular class. And the online classes, waitlist management, substitute management, all of those basically in the system prior. We're going to talk a little bit later on in terms of customer tags, which is come with the system, but it's also new. But there's no setup for it at this point, really, and I'll show you how that works later. So the next thing we'll talk about is email notification, because there are some changes in terms of the email notifications. The biggest change is that we added tons of email notification to the system that we didn't have prior. So for example, instructor reminder, even though we were sending reminders to instructors before, but you didn't have the ability to customize it. So now you could customize instructor reminder, you could customize student class reminder. So basically, if you had a COVID policy, this is where you would put that. So when the student booked, they would get a reminder before the class that would include your COVID policy. And also, if you wanted to, you could also add your COVID policy in terms of your booking and cancellation policy. So you could add your policies so when somebody booked, and you could have different policies for studio classes, or you can have a different one for workshop. So if you have different cancellation policies, different reminder policies for classes and workshop, this is where you would add them. So there's tons of text. We are working on templates, so if you're not sure what to put in there, we could help you do that. The last thing, footers has not changed. This is where you would put your social media link. Actually, footers have changed just a little bit. This is where you would put your social media link. The addition to footers is that now we have a place where you would put your term of use and your privacy policy. So those are probably on your website anyway. So you could go ahead and copy and paste the link there so that you could have those in the system. Let's just the last one is the styling. I'm going to close that just to show you. So at the top of the screen, there's a big banner now. Right? So there's this big blue banner. Don't worry, you're not stuck with it. You could change it. This is important in terms of the apps. And again, when we start to do some other features, that you could add your own banner to the top, and that would make your studio, distinguish your studio from some other studio. So if we go back to the studio settings, and the styling, we have 3 banners that you could use. We'll probably add more, but you could upload your own image. So if you don't like what we're offering, you had an image that you like, you want to create your own image, you can do that, and that, that will be up there. Embedded. This have changed a little bit from the prior version. Prior version had a lot of tabs and a lot of different things. This kind of bring it all together. You could, change the background image, header color, footer color, all sorts of different things in terms of how you want your embedded schedule to look. The 2 big differences between this version, actually 3, and the current version is that this is simplified. First of all, it's easier for you to manage and see what's going on. Second of all, you get to change the font. You could change the font to have it match your website font a little bit. And the biggest thing for me is that every time I change this for our own website, I had to go to the website, refresh the page to see what it looks like. However, in this version, if you make a change, so it's gonna look really bad, but just so you see. If you make a change, you could go to preview, and it open up, and you could see exactly what it looks like before you embed it on your website. Okay. So basically, this is it in terms of setup and system setup. I am going to show you a few other things before we get to schedule and video and all the other stuff, just so that. So if we go to setting, and I'm going to look at branches just to kind of illustrate a few changes in the branch settings. I am going to pick the Booking Studio. Okay. 2 big things here. There's an app, there's a mobile app cover. Again, we have a default image that will show. If you wanted to customize it, this is where you would put an image that kind of represents your studio. This is also where you would put a description for your branch on the mobile app, which is not the same as the description I showed you in the studio setting, that's a more global description. This is for your own app, for your own students. The other important thing is that to make sure that you update your address, because we are, because it's going to be an app, people might want to see where you're located, because it's going to be available to students who may not be familiar with your location. So if you make sure your address is correct, there'll be a map where people could actually find you. Okay, so let's just move on and continue with some of the stuff. Okay, so most of you guys, I think, let me see who I have here. Just you Canadian people. Most of you guys, your default language is English anyway, but for we now offer the software in English, French, Spanish, Russian, German, Danish, and Japanese. Hopefully, so let's go setting, go back to setting, a few more things. Okay, so I'm going to talk about a few things in the settings that's new, besides the language stuff. Notice if you have video library turned on, you'll see difficulty and series. And this is important to define if you're going to upload videos, right? So if you're going to upload videos, people will be able to filter your videos by, difficulty level, so you could get added. And I added these, beginner, moderate, intermediate, and advanced for the demo. When you get the software, it won't have any difficulties listed. So if you wanted to name them different, you are welcome to do that. The other option that you have is the ability to series, right? So if you are, for example, you want to offer yoga, Pilates, maybe some skill set. You wanted to do some special, pranayama breathing, and it's a short video, and you want to consider it skill or mindfulness and meditation. You could create different series. So again, people could sort by difficulty and series to get exactly what they're looking for, right? So those are the two things in terms of video hosting that you need to do. Last thing I'm going to talk about in settings is basically class type, okay? So class type, okay, before, let's say if you had a Bikram class or Vinyasa class or whatever class, and the class was basically Monday, Wednesday, and Saturday, and it was at different time, you were forced to create 3 different classes or 4 different classes to but you had to repeat the same description, the same information. With class type, you could create a type, a name, a description. You could even import an image and assign it a color. Uh, and then when you create your classes, you could simply import that class type so that you don't have to repeat typing the same description, the same name, same everything. The other thing that's important to do with class type, an advantage of class type is if you change the description for the class, you don't have to go and edit it everywhere in the occurrence of that class. If you have a class type, you could change it on the class type, and the change will be propagated to all your classes. Okay, so this is basically a quick overview of all the setting stuff that has changed. So I'm going to do a quick overview of the main dashboard, kind of show you a few things, and then we'll go to the schedule and look at various other aspects. So like I said, the dashboard, we're trying to keep, because that's the part of the software a lot of people use all the time, we're trying to keep it as familiar as possible. However, we did make a few changes. So one of the things you'll notice that the type is a little different, the color is a little different, moving the class around is a little bit easier. So what also we add is, so let me just add somebody. I put somebody in, Stephen Miller, right? Cool. Okay, so one of the things we changed is before, if a student didn't sign the disclaimer, you could have clicked on a button that says sign, and then the system will bring you a new page, and you could have turned your tablet around and get them to sign with their fingers. That's not really a viable option with COVID, because you don't want people signing the same thing. So now what you could do is just click the request signature button, and the student will get an email where they could actually sign within their email browser, and that will automatically update the signature in Karmasoft, make things easier for that. The other thing, and this is a change we made just recently because someone asked for it, is the ability to see if a student has a card on file. So technically, when you put student into class or you pull up a student information, you didn't know if that student has a card on file. You had to kind of go to the student information, look for card on file. If they were at the front desk or you're signing them in, you didn't know they had a card on file until you click credit card. So now you'll notice that if a student have a card on file, on their profile picture, there's a little credit card icon that would indicate that the student had a card on file. And also based on the attendance record, based on how frequently they take and their purchase history, we start to give you a probability, likelihood of returning. This used to be a little bar graph at the bottom, which no one noticed or realized. So here we put it on top. And for some student, it will show you the direction they're moving up or down. If the student likelihood of returning is greater or lower, and so on. So that's just a quick thing. So we talked earlier about if you make changes to your waiver, the students will be, when they log on, there's going to be an indication that they need to sign the waiver. So, and that's pretty prominent, and they can't miss it. But if a student show up at the studio and they didn't update the waiver, so for example, right, what you see is next to their folder, you see this little icon that will indicate that they need to update the waiver. I think before we release the new version under 15, we'll give you an ability to click on that icon so that you could send a request for signature. But it's a little indication that the student has not yet updated the waiver. Okay, so since we are here, let's just kind of look quickly at the student information screen. So if I just click on this waiver, we look at the student information screen. There's a few things here that's different. You should kind of notice, and we'll talk about tag in a second. The parent account, we changed the name to a fallback account because it's really not parents. And we move it all the way down here. It used to be up there. So that's just a quick note for people looking for it. We also added a few things. Prior to this, if somebody booked a class, you really couldn't tell by looking at the student what future class that they booked. So if you look at upcoming, you could see a list of all the future classes that were booked by that student. And also, if someone made changes to the student plan, so added class, changed the expiry date, there was no way for you to know. So now if you look at plans update, it will give you a list of dates and who did it and basic information about who made changes to the student plan. Also, we will keep a listing and agreement. So any kind of disclaimer or waiver a student sign, it will be listed right there for you. Okay, so let's just go back. Okay. So the last thing I want to show you in that, if you're looking at the student list, next to the student email, so if we look at gingertalk.com, if the student email bounced for some reason, there was an issue delivering email to that student, there will be an indication next to the student email that there was an issue so that you know the student knows. So if it's an email bounce, you could reset the bounce. If, like, for example, Tim will, walk in and say, look, I didn't get my email, boom, boom, boom. You could see that clearly there was a bounce. If he said, no, my email was full, there's some issues, you could reset the bounce email and then the system will try again. Or you could change the email and then the bounce indication will go away for that student. Okay, so let's take a moment and then let's go over to the schedule page and look at some of the issues and some of the changes there. So remember, to get to your schedule page on the upper right-hand corner, just simply click schedule and you'll get to your schedule page. So on the schedule page itself, all the menu system, all the menus are on the left panel, okay? So to toggle between your dashboard and your schedule, so if you're on the schedule page at the very top, it's a dashboard. To get back to your schedule page, you click schedule, and that will allow you to move back and forth between the two. Okay? So I'm gonna go over each little issues a little bit. Class edit is basically a list of all your classes. We've made a lot of changes to this one in terms of the search capability, because that was one of the biggest annoying thing about that search. So for example, let me just minimize something here. If I search for Rocket, right? It shows me all the Rocket yoga classes. Right? If I click on it, right, and then I cancel, I notice it brings me back to my search criteria. It doesn't bring me back to the whole list. So notice even if I remove my search criteria and press enter, it's only showing me the open classes because I select status open. So it's gonna remember my status and I could search so that you don't have a long list of classes to search through when you're searching through your class listing. Okay. So let's just look at it, and there will be videos on creating most of your classes. So most of you guys are already using Karmasoft. All your classes will be converted over. So some of the stuff I'm not talking about how to create new classes. There will be videos on that. If you need that, I'll do that really briefly. But I'm just going to show you some of the changes in creating classes. So for example, If I am creating a class, notice that there's several steps now, just to make things easier in terms of class creation. Again, you could use class type. If you turn that on and pull out a class type, it will update all the infos for you. We're giving you pretty clear error messages if something is not right, in terms of like there's no duration, there's no class time. You could actually import an image for your class, and that's important again for the apps and for future global. If you want to make a class globally accessible and you want an image, so if we go look at the advanced setting, just pick a class that doesn't have. I should just fix this class. Okay. All right. So boom, so this class have all the stuff. So if you go to advanced settings, right, then that's where you put your capacities. If it's a free class and so on. If I go back to this completed section, this is kind of a nice thing in terms of people finding your class. I will go back and talk about tags. You could assign a tag to your class, and a student gets assigned a tag when they take the class. So this is a way of filtering students. So for example, if it's a teacher training, you could say it's a teacher training. If it's a special class, you could assign tags to classes. So now when you're looking at your student list, you'll be able to filter student by those tags. Again, you could assign a color to your classes so people know the difference between, so you could make your hot classes red and your non-heated classes a different color. But what I'm more excited about is really you can have different location for your class. So for us personally, because of COVID, we have classes in the park. The classes in the park are not always in the same location. So one of the things we have to deal with is people not knowing the location of the class, or go to the wrong section of the park. So you could change the location, and when people look at the schedule, they'll be able to kind of see a map of that location for your class. Okay. So again, to create a new class, it's fairly simple. If I go back to my class listing, at the bottom, it says new, right? And then you could go through the step, right? 1, 2, 3, and it's basically done. Again, if you have questions, you can shoot me a text. There'll be additional videos, and I help getting started option. So the classes with locations, you'll see it says show on map. You could click that, and I'm not sure if the pop-up show up on this, but you'll see the location of the class. And the student could do the same, so they'll know exactly where the class is taking place. Workshop. Okay. Workshop is very different in terms of we are separated workshops into two different types of workshops. So one is basically a workshop, maybe like a arm balancing workshop that you do. It's happening on one day, very specific time and place. That's it. Or a workshop that's multiple days, multiple classes. So when you start creating a new workshop, you have to pick which one you want to do. Just so that we could manage attendance a little better, we could make creating a workshop as simpler. So currently in this version, if I was going to do a workshop that's just one day, one class, I still have to go and create a class. I still have to go and create a package. There was a lot of steps. So if you're creating a single day class, everything you need is within one page, right? So, we know the date of the class. We will create the class for you. We know all the information that you need. So it's only one page. So you don't have to create multiple classes. Also, the one exciting thing about Workshop is now you could set up an early bird pricing and full regular prices. And you could set the date where the early bird pricing ends, and you don't have to do anything else. The system will automatically adjust the prices at the time of the early bird pricing. Obviously, you could upload an image for the workshop. If, for example, this workshop, scheduled for 3/6. It's not going to happen for whatever reason. You need to change it. In this current version, it's difficult to change a workshop. You have to basically duplicate the workshop and change it. But now you could just click reschedule within the workshop, and then the system will allow you to change the date and reschedule the workshop for a future date. Also, one of the things about the workshop, I want to cancel this so you could see, is that we allow you to filter workshop a little easier. So if I'm looking at current, it's only showing the current workshop. So workshop that's gonna happen in the future, the workshop that's active and been published. I could go to previous, and then previous will basically show me all my previous workshop. Notice that when you create a workshop, if you haven't published it, it's still in the pending column. Because you have a start date for that pending workshop, it's still gonna go into the previous because the start date is over. But you could always click on that workshop and change the date. But the important thing is that you could look at current workshop, and you don't have a list of workshop that's past in the past that you want to filter through. Now, also, there's a difference between rescheduling a workshop and creating another workshop. So, for example, if this arm balancing with Frank, right, it's a work class. So let me just kind of show you. I think I have one student. I booked myself into this workshop. So you have people booked into that workshop, and you wanted to change the workshop. What you want to do is reschedule the workshop so that you inform everyone that who booked the workshop that the workshop has been rescheduled, and it's the same workshop. It's just gonna, all the booking gonna stay the same. Everything's gonna work. Let's say this workshop is over, right? It's passed, it's done, it's over with. But 2 months later, you want to do the exact same workshop, right? Because the exact same workshop is going to have very different group of people booking it. You don't really want to reschedule the workshop, because if you reschedule the workshop, all the people that were booked in the workshop are going to be confused. They're like, well, wait a second, we did that workshop already. So if you wanted to repeat a workshop, you could still duplicate that workshop. So if I wanted to repeat the arm balance with Frank, I would simply duplicate the workshop, and then so that I don't have to put in all the information again. But however, my booking list will be completely new and fresh, and new people could book into the workshop. Okay. So any question regarding workshop? Okay, none. Perfect. Okay, so let's go on. Okay. Video editing. Okay, edit video. So you could store your videos. You could create packages for the videos. Creating a package for a video is the same as creating a package for a class. The only difference is you have to, so what I did, so you guys could see this, I'm gonna go back to, let's see, go to video. I'm gonna pull a video to show you. So what I did for this demo is that all my videos I put under this group called video library. So if you create a package just for videos, you make sure the package is good for video library. So you could actually take an unlimited membership and just add the video library to it, and now that student will have access to your video library. So when you're creating a video library or a video, basically two very important things. Always upload a cover image, which is different than the video, in this place it's about. And then, make sure that you assign a group, difficulty, series. Group is absolutely necessary, difficulty and series are not, but if you do so, it just makes it easier for your student. Duration, long description, and so on, right? So there's no limit to how many videos you could upload. You could upload as many videos as you like into the system. Okay. So I am going to show you, if I'm creating a new video, okay, let me see, browse, let's see, do I have an image? Yeah. Let's pick my profile image. Okay, now you could drag and drop an image, or you could click browse. All right, so I'm going to go to my desktop, and I'm going to pick the video. I'm just going to pick this one. Right, load. So while your video is loading, this one load quickly because it's a small video. While your video is loading, this is where you would put your description. You would put your group, which is my library, series, yoga, difficulty, beginners, and your instructor. It's important to allow your video to completely load before you click save. Okay, so in terms of videos, MP4 videos load faster than MOV videos. So if you could do most of your videos in MP4 format, there's a faster loading speed for that video. So once you're done, then you could save it. So I'm going to save this video. So even though the system loaded the video into the upload, it didn't transfer it into the library yet for people to view. So when you click save, it's gonna, notice you're gonna have a little wheels that's turning around. This, you don't have to worry about it. You could just let it turn for as long as it takes to load the video. And then once you have a little checkbox, you're okay. So you could continue to do other things and not even think about it in terms of loading, okay? Few more things. Account, just basically whoever's logged in. If you're a teacher, you log in, or if you're a studio owner, this is just basic information about your account. Classes, just a list of your classes that you scheduled, you've been assigned to teach. History is just a list of classes you taught. Expenses, you could enter your expenses into the system for tax reason, and so on. Substitution is all the sub requests that's in the system, people looking for classes to be covered. And then at the very top will be the substitution you're concerned about, because those will be yours. At the bottom is stuff that's pending. So there might be some old one is because this is a test and we never really respond to the pending substitution on this test, okay? Last few things, and then I answer questions if anybody has questions. Let me see. Okay. Yeah, okay, so no. So video libraries don't automatically get added to those that previously purchased a class or just purchased packages, okay? So if you, and I'm gonna go back and show you. So for example, just let me see who has a package, student plans. Okay, let's pick, that doesn't matter, let's pick Dima. Let's pick whoever. Okay, so if you go to student, right, and I'm gonna pick Dima, and this is student does not, does not have access to the video library because this is a previous plan, and I want to give that student access to video library. So I would just click plans, and then I will go click on this and modify their plan and add the library group. So if I add video library to it and save it, oh, that's the other thing. When you make modification to a plan, you have to put a reason for it, just so that we know when you look back, add video. Right? It's a little bit, it's an extra step, but it just gave us clarity. So now the student will have access to video library. So you don't have to do this for every student, right? So for example, if I go to asset and I go to student plan and I wanted to give everybody that has my month unlimited, I don't know if I have one, we only have one person, access to my video library. Let me pick something that we have more, 10 class card, right? I have 3 people with 10 class card that's active. I wanted to give them access to the video library. I could simply click group, right? And I could click library, show my video library, and then I click update group. So now all the students with the 10 class card now have access to the video library. So I hope this answered your questions. Okay, so give me a second. Okay, let me see. Sorry. My question thing is gone, so I don't see it. All right, hold on. Okay, perfect. Got it back. So I'm going to show you before we wrap up a little bit. I'm going to show you. So if I lag out, okay. Notice that in your public page. So when I logged in, this tab for video was not there and store was not there. In your public page, you will see videos. So you'll see videos. So this is what your students are going to see when they log in. So if I click videos, so all the videos look like this, right? So I could click on a video, right? And it will ask me to log in. I'm gonna log in with my, okay. So I log in with my Google account, and then this is the video. So I could start watching this video because I have a package that's associated with that video. Notice that when I start playing the video, right, I have options. So if I don't want to watch it this way, I could click the full screen, right, and then see it that way. So I have a full screen view. I could, bring it back. I
Yeah.
could just pop it up, and then it's down here, so I could watch it down here while I'm doing something else, and so on. Okay, so the video view is this is the view for your students, and they could click on any video. And by the way, you could also make certain videos free, which means everyone get to see it. They don't have to pay anything like that, but they do have to log on, even if it's a free video. But logging in, you could log in with your Google account, with your Facebook account, so that you don't have to remember about, password and remembering password, and it's easier to log on using that. Students could also have, like, for example, I have my favorite, this is all the classes that I could, favorite. I could now sync those classes with my Google Calendar so that I get a notice on my Google Calendar. They are on my Google Calendar. So there's a sync with classes on Google Calendars. Yes. So so video, the question was, video access allows students to take video classes and deduct from the student plan. It does. Most people use unlimited monthly for video library access, like a month unlimited, or you could do a week unlimited. But if you were to do a 10 class card, that would give them access to 10 videos. The only issue with a 10 class card that would give somebody access to 10 video is that we don't monitor if that student watched the video completely. Okay, so if I have a 10 class card and I start watching, I click on to take a class, I may not see, um, I may not see the whole video, but the system will take a class off my package because I started the video. So that's the one thing to be aware of if you're going to create packages that are like 10 classes or anything like that. So for the most part, it's usually a month unlimited or something of that sort. People create for video classes. Okay? Yes. So in terms of so there's two URL we're referring to. Somebody just say, what is the new URL for the new platform? If you refresh your screen, you see your URL. So for example, let me just see if I could like show you this. So the demo, My URL right now is called demo.karmasoftonline.io. Right? Okay. So, but also notice when I log in, it's a mykarmasoft.io. So your URL will be the same URL that you have now. Instead of saying karmasoftonline.com, it will say karmasoft.io. Again, when we distribute the first version of that software, we will automatically redirect your current URL to the new URL, so you don't have to think about it. So over time, you should just, you should go to the new URL, but we will do the redirect for you. Okay. All right. So this is basically, getting to know Karmasoft video, a webinar. I will stay online. If anybody has questions, I will be more than happy to answer your questions. But otherwise, I want to just take a moment to thank you for watching this. Take a few minutes and play. If you refresh your screen, there should be a link to a preview version of this new version, a preview version of this new software, and you could play with it. You could give us feedback. We had tons and tons and tons and tons of feedback, which we've been trying to implement. So we only have 2 weeks, and we don't want to delay it anymore for that. The app, again, there's a question about the app. The app is going to be on the Apple App Store and the Google App Store, and it's absolutely free. And it will be released on the same date that we release the software. And it will be a Karmasoft app. People will pick. Let me see if I could show you this. Let's see. If I click, right, so notice that it brings me to demo. If I click, it will show me, because I joined all these studios, and you could pick your favorite among the studios. And these are only showing all the studios because I select all of them as my favorite, which is a little greedy. But yeah, people could pick the studio, and the app is free, and it's going to be available on the same date as we release the new version. Okay. So we have, I'm going to stay here for 2 more minutes for questions. Otherwise, I'm going to thank you for your time. Okay, reminder emails. You could set it up. I think class reminders, it's an hour before class in terms of class reminder for staff. You could set it up for 1 hour and 24 hours before the class. That was another question people were asking in terms of reminders. I'm not sure, Mary, the question, and all of those can be edited. Yes, it could be edited. You could put anything you want, a password. I wouldn't absolutely put a password within the reminder unless it's the same password. If you link in terms of Zoom, if you link it with Karmasoft, that will automatically generate a password for you. Okay, folks, my time is done. So thank you very much one last time, and talk to you soon. Take care. Have a great, great evening.